Libra. This is your June 2023 soul story. If you have a sun rising or your moon is in the sign, this is your reading for the month ahead. It's Romy here. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me and support the channel. I appreciate you. We're going to open up this month with the energy of the Queen of Fire, Queen of Wands. And I do see you really gaining confidence this month, and it will help you to witness the progress in a specific area. Now, it might not feel quite as linear as you would like it to be, and so I think it's going to be important that you don't be too rigid on yourself around timescales. But you're going to know by the way you feel, just this rising sense of optimism and that something's coming together, that you feel more enlightened about a situation overall, is really helping to set the tone for this season of Gemini, which is a fellow air sign and certainly speaks like the same language as you. Now, we open up the month with Venus trining Neptune, and it's a real healing feeling energy, and I think that's going to be helpful for you as we have the full moon in Sagittarius arriving the next day. And of course that illuminates your third house, Libra, and so it seems to me that there's going to be a really significant conversation taking place in the first part of June. And the thing that you need to remember is it can be interpreted in so many different ways. So you're going to have to really notice where your emotional response is coming from, perhaps an old story or a wound energy. And that's what's directing particularly, how you might end up having like some kind of sudden outburst or sort of feeling a little bit defensive, because I feel that overall, like, the tempo of that conversation is actually meant to be stabilizing. It's meant to give you something to build upon and something to work towards. And so regardless of where it's showing up in what particular area for you, your own focus around your words, your thoughts, and how you're expressing yourself is definitely being given like this spotlight to kind of help you see how far you've come, but also where there's perhaps still a little bit more work that you'd like to focus on. Now, this particular full moon is also trining with Mars, and so there's a tremendous amount of passion that's being unleashed. We also have Venus shifting into Leo, another fire sign, the next day. And so I do think that this is supportive when you are looking to try to move something meaningfully forward, because you want to remember, why your heart was in it in the first place. But it's also worth noting that this full moon wants you to focus really on one specific thing and to kind of take it all the way. Now, Gemini season, of course, is 9th house energy, and Sagittarius is also the natural ruler. So you have this month an opportunity, I think, actually, to trust in the wisdom of flow as much as you do with the wisdom of effort that you put into things. And I think you're going to be experiencing at some moments through this month of June, Libra, like the shattering actually of some profound truths, or where you had held faith in specific things. And this isn't negative, we have to grieve so that we can grow. And I think you're learning more and you're being witness to understand things in a greater degree than you ever have before. And as you sort of stretch that perspective and as you align more to your higher self and your spiritual journey is kind of taken to another level, if you like, then it does require sort of old ways of thinking or seeing the world to be discarded in favor of what now feels much more aligned with kind of what you believe and the direction that you want to move towards. Now, that in itself can feel a little bit uncomfortable, and sometimes, it can even sort of rock us to our core, because we're like, wow, well, I built so much, I put so much faith in this person or this movement or this belief or ideology, and now it just doesn't resonate for me. It doesn't make sense to me anymore. And so it can leave you sometimes a little bit in limbo land. So don't be concerned if through the month of June you feel a little bit disorientated or confused about that search for meaning in your life. I feel like there's a whole new, almost like blank page that's coming forth for you to get to rewrite some ideas and, kind of set in motion something new for you to build upon. So let's talk about also this Venus in Leo, and the reason it's going to be important is there'll be an extended stay in the sign because it's going to go retrograde in July, so we'll be feeling into the shadow energy around the 19th of June. So Venus in Leo, of course, brings passion and heart and big gestures and some drama. And between the 5th and the 19th, anything that you are connected to that is going to be involving your prosperity, your financial story, how you value yourself and the way in which that's showing up for you. And of course, your love relationships. Now, Leo energy is in your 11th house, so that's also going to hit on friendships specifically for you. So when we arrive at the retrograde energies, you're going to be going back over a lot of what took place in the first part of June. Some of you might be finding that friendships are turning to a more romantic situation, or that, you know, someone who you've been in a loving partnership with is becoming more and more like a friend. I think one of the things to remember for you in this transit is that you don't necessarily need to be understood, but you do need to have people who care about how you feel. And of course, those retrograde energies can be a bit problematic at times because they tend to sort of unearth some of our own triggers and wounds, things for us to reflect and regulate within ourselves. And so this is just a heads up, really, especially where there's big gestures that are taking place, because the 5 of Earth is suggesting that, you know, we might feel like we want to go big or go home, you know, and put everything on the line. But then when that energy kicks in the next few weeks, you know, we might have a little bit of regret or feel like even that there's been some sense of loss. Now, really, there's never a right or wrong. Everything is only ever an experience. And so if you feel compelled and moved towards making a certain action, you know, you still have to move with that flow. That's what I said. You have to trust in the wisdom of flow as much as the wisdom of when you're efforting. But at the same time, you also have to be focused on protecting yourself, you know, especially as much as your image, because Leo kind of is very focused and concerned about that public image. But what's going on behind the scenes is also going to be, you know, something to really pay attention to. So Mercury, planet of communication, shifts into Gemini on the 11th. Loves to be here as its natural ruler. Again, fellow air sign. This will feel a nice placement for you to be able to share what's on your mind, especially where I think you've had situations that have felt quite challenging, or where you felt particularly let down or disappointed by people or the way that things turned out. And, you know, again, that doesn't have to come across as harsh or critical. It just needs to come across authentic and true to say, listen, this is how it affected me, and this is, you know, the result of that. And perhaps some trust's been broken a little bit, or perhaps you're now reevaluating where, you know, somebody sits in your life in terms of the priority of investment. But I think that honesty and the ability to also come into alignment with some new ideas and new inspiration, because perhaps you're now free to kind of remove yourself from a situation that has felt really burdensome, you know, and just kind of been draining or dragging you down a little bit. Now, these 5 certainly suggest that we have a couple of tricky challenges that we're going to be overcoming, but in some ways I think it's helping you to kind of focus your mind specifically on the things that matter. And so whilst there might be a little bit of frustration arriving through the sort of first part of June, I think what I see emerging as a result of this for you, Libra, is you becoming far more assertive about, you know, what's staying and what's going. And remember, like, this 9th house energy of Gemini is like stretching your horizons and really helping you to look much further afield than perhaps you ever would have. And what I think this is also indicating is that you've outgrown things, and maybe you've outgrown people, and, you know, that really changes the whole energy and dynamic of things that are unfolding, and you have to be like really true to yourself in regards to that. Now, when we get to mid-month, the 17th, we're going to have the new moon in Gemini. So of course we have this opportunity to kind of reorientate our intentions, but we're also the same day going to be welcoming Saturn shifting retrograde. It's the annual transit, of course. And here, 6 of water, 6 of cups is helping us to revisit, and, you know, the revisitation of the commitments, the review of your boundaries and how they support your long-term visions is really coming through. And remember what I said, like, this month is very much about you reflecting and regulating your energy. So perhaps there's going to be a little bit of nostalgia, perhaps even as you're making some tougher calls and decisions for yourself this month, as you realize what you need to put your time, focus and energy towards. There's also perhaps a little bit of regret or some sadness that bubbles up a little bit. I think you need to be mindful as well, like where your body is telling you no and you're trying to say yes to something. And of course, when we move into these retrograde energies, lots of things come back up from the past. Old experiences, people from the past, old feelings and memories, everything coming through to be reviewed. So to help us meaningfully see how much we've grown and to make those adjustments. But I think that your body is also speaking to you. And as I see her sort of holding her stomach a little bit there, I think, there's something here that suggests to me there's a little bit of stress connected to something from the past. And so, tread carefully is what I would say if you're going to open yourself back up to something that in the past maybe didn't leave you with the best experience. Now, of course, Saturn is the taskmaster and is going to help us to perhaps go over something and resolve it and do it in the right way. So there might be something incredibly healing about revisiting that. So only you're going to know from your individual experience. But I think you need to ask yourself each and every day, what is it that I need today to feel like grounded, healthy, vibrant, supported in my mind, body and soul. And you don't have to soldier through something. Keep that in mind, yeah? You don't have to soldier through something. The new moon in Gemini, of course, is going to help you to consider like how you are exploring and developing, especially in your spiritual path. And, as we learn to ask for what we desire, there's also an onus on us to explore what we would do if we received it and also what we would do if we didn't. And I know that might feel a bit controversial, but as Neptune's going to go retrograde at the end of the month and it sort of takes the rose-tinted glasses off, it's important to understand, every person's soul blueprint is different and much of that destiny is set in motion. And so there are things that are absolutely meant for you to experience and other things that, you maybe will, but not in the way that you anticipate or in the way that the ego wants. And so kind of coming at it from this really realistic, grounded, balanced place that says, this is what matters to me, this is what I'm investing in, this is who I want to connect to, but also, what my response is to then how I receive what comes back is also going to teach you everything about really how far on you are in terms of your own progress, around coming to terms with a higher spiritual truth. Yeah, so I think there's some tests that are coming through there. Now, I'm going to highlight to you a really auspicious date this month on the 19th as Jupiter will be sextile to Saturn. And here we have the strength to overcome adversity. And we're really starting to feel into the energy of Jupiter in Taurus now, a few weeks in. And there's something here that's giving you a tremendous amount of resolve. So even where you feel like you've had a no, or you feel like the conversations have led nowhere, because that messenger of fire is telling me like something was opening up and then it felt like it got derailed or moved to the side or pulled away. And so there's a sort of frustration energy that I feel a little bit that's coming up. But what I do want to say to you is that you have made a huge impression on somebody and you might not kind of get the response straight away, but I feel like in the coming weeks, something's set to come like full circle for you as well, okay? So do keep that in mind. Now, of course, we're going to then move into Cancer season, your 10th house of career, legacy, and how you're moving through the world all lit up. And on the 21st, we've got Ceres, the asteroid goddess, moving into your sign, which is going to be a beautiful placement for you. Of course, the same day, we have the sun in Cancer, we have Solstice, and we have Mercury sextile to Mars. So it's a really beautiful lineup to celebrate this kind of midpoint in the year and just reflect on your progress. There's something deeply harmonious coming through around this time for you. And I think you will be able to make peace with something that, again, is perhaps entangled itself into your thought forms for some time now. And the decision that you make is a brave one. And I feel like you will instantly feel a sense of relief coming in. But there's also something else to celebrate around this time, because I think you're going to have some powerful new ambitions forming. And it's worth putting some groundwork in early on to kind of really flesh out how that might start to come a reality for you, because there's something auspicious about that dance with the light and the dark of Solstice that wants to celebrate and align you with a new rhythm and a new cycle. And that 10th house wants to bring in some recognition, some success. And again, remember what I said, there's something about you gaining confidence this month to really sort of realize where you're making progress. Now, even if you find yourself sort of saying around that time, well, what now? Which might be the case. You know, you have to understand that that's a loaded statement, and it can come from a place of fear, or it can come from a place of fearlessness. And that's where I want you to sit, because the potential of the unknown, going back to this, you have to trust in the wisdom as much as, you know, of the flow, as much as the wisdom of the efforting. Yeah. So stop fighting yourself over something is what I want to say, because these new ambitions that are going to be forming around that solstice energy are absolutely destined for you. Now, if you're new to the channel, we do the 3-card reveal at the bottom here in our extended reading. I talk for another 25 minutes or so to give you deeper insights into the month ahead. But I'm going to go ahead and clarify to also see what new messages are also going to help shape the direction of your reading. This month, I am also supporting you with soul journeys, meditations around resistance to timelines. So it's a really interesting one to help you navigate where you might be getting really bound up with that. And also supporting major life changes. So you can find the link for that in the comment and description box underneath. You'll also find all the decks that I use. And of course you can see my 2 products here, the Life Soul Vision Oracle and Moon Musings, which is a collection of all my soul works. If you enjoy what I create, please do check these out. Again, all the links are below over on my website. Okay, strength coming through there. Got the energy of the Tower. I think that disruption, you know, like it is that approach of the Venus retrograde, you know. I think there's always the feeling of trouble in paradise, and yet what ends up happening, we've got the artist coming through, is that you get to create like a whole new canvas and a whole new picture of like how life could be and how you truly want it to be. So as ever, it's always ending up in a place that's going to serve your highest good. Got the Hanged Man coming through there. There's that Neptunian energy. 7 of Cups, strengthened further with that. 8 of Cups and 6 of Wands coming through here. The asteroid goddess energies are shifting this month. Of course, not only do we have Ceres and Libra, we've also got Juno moving into Cancer and Vesta shifting into Gemini on the 22nd. So you can also check out my goddess reports and my angel reports over on the website to see how these affect you in your own personal natal chart. Okay, Libra, I'm just going to go ahead and use Life Soul Vision Oracle now to see what other enlightened messages we have for you. Spirit Wolf, beautiful. Labyrinth of Sweet Surrender. Queen of Water here. Solstice, lovely. It's been making an appearance this month, as it should. Energy conversations. Really pay attention around that full moon, you know, to identify where this interaction is helping to highlight for you, because it really feels to me like there's so many ways that you could interpret like the words that are spoken to you, or even like how you feel and what you're saying and where that's coming from. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just pull a couple more oracle cards for you, which we'll explore in the extended. Rock Bottom, okay. And let's pull an astrology card. Okay, you have the energy of Saturn showing up. Libra, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. If you're joining me for the extended, can't wait to continue this conversation. We'll also look at a personal question that might not have come up in the main spread for you. And otherwise, I will see you again next time. You take good care.